Welcome. I'm Rosie and I'm a sex and relationship therapist. And in this video, I would like to give an update on my first ever video that I ever filmed on YouTube, and that was just over 3 years ago. That video is called Pain, Passion and Wanting to be a Mother. I would like to so first of all, I'm going to explain about how I've changed about wanting to be a mother, and then later on in the video, I'm going to talk about pain and passion. So I have actually completely changed my perspective. I've got a few prompts to help notes to help prompt me. So you might see me looking down. So I am actually really grateful at the moment that I don't have children, and my philosophy has changed fundamentally. So it's changed in two ways, because I actually believe that society needs to support parents more in being parents, in that, and it's another YouTube video on its own, what I believe with that really. But in that, I believe that being a parent is the most important job. And so I don't believe that you should have another job or a career as well as having children. I believe that should be your main focus, bringing up your children. But obviously that's another YouTube video. And also, I've realised even more that if you have to be very emotionally balanced and understanding within yourself to bring up children in the way that I think is the right way, the way that would help them be balanced, grounded adults to live a functional life. So I actually, from working with all of my clients and myself, I knew this before, but I'm realising more and more how innocent acts such as putting your child into its own bedroom before it's ready, or weaning your baby off your breast before they're ready, innocent acts like that are very common, can actually create bigger issues later on in life, and with problems with confidence, issues in relationship, communication issues, all range of things. And having worked with nearly 600 clients, I've realised that. So that's another more I've realised it more, because I can see how many people are affected in these ways. It's not just me, it affects a lot of people, so it's a big thing. So I do actually want to feel, I still would like to feel a baby growing inside of me and have that experience and experience childbirth. I still do want to have that feeling. But it's changed, because in the sense that I feel like if it doesn't happen, so when I sat here I sat in this very spot 3 years ago and said, if I don't have a child by the time I'm 45 or 50 and I've gone through the menopause, I will feel deeply disappointed. I'm 39 now. Well, I'm not 39 yet. I'm going to be 39 in a couple of weeks. So I'm 38. But I feel if that was to happen now, it just wouldn't be my path. It just means that's not the right course of action for me. So I feel quite differently in that respect. I don't know if I'll feel differently if I got to that age and I hadn't had children. I don't know. But right now, that's how I feel. And I feel it's a bit like, I look on the television at the Commonwealth Games and the gymnasts and the divers, like, I think, wow, I'd love to experience that. I'd love to experience what it's like to do all these amazing somersaults in the air off a diving board, or all these amazing somersaults that these professional gymnasts do. So I'd love to experience that, but the time and the dedication and my body, you know, I'm 30, coming up to 39. The reality is, it's probably not going to happen. So I just take it as that's not my path. Like it's just one of those things. So I feel differently in that respect. And the last point I would like to say with this point about being a mother, the most important job is parenting children, but also it is parenting yourself. That is what I really believe. You have to really look after yourself, not just practically, but emotionally too. And that's what I focus on, and actually what I really talk to my clients about is parenting themselves and looking after their emotional needs and putting their emotional needs above everything, like above other people's emotional needs. Because if you look after yourself, you will also look after others in that you're taking care of that emotional need, and so you'll feel a lot more balanced in your response to other people. So that was that point. Now I would like to talk about pain and passion. So in the video I made 3 years ago, I mentioned some things about my childhood. So I also mentioned how I can feel very suicidal at times, and if I'm honest, sometimes I still do feel suicidal. It's a part of me. I feel a lot more grounded than I did. I definitely do feel a lot more grounded than I did three years ago. But it's a part of me that I have inside of me, that I go to quite an extreme place sometimes and have that experience. I'm just being honest. But in that video I made 3 years ago, I spoke a bit about my childhood, but I would like to talk a little bit more about it now and explain how it links to feeling suicidal. So when I was growing up, my mother was a very kind, caring woman. She did her best, but she also had quite a strong temper, and at times it would feel like she would kind of lose control of her temper at really random things, or little things that on the surface, from my perspective, weren't a big deal, and she would kind of lose it. And I'll give you a very poignant example that happened to me. So I was around 6 or 7 at the time, and she was trying to teach me how to tell the time through the 24-hour clock. And I really didn't understand it. And I remember feeling like she was trying to show me it, and the more I was getting it wrong, the more angrier she was getting. And I could feel this kind of like sense of trepidation, fear, a bit of excitement in the more that she was getting angrier and angrier. Anyway, she said, right, one last time, you've got to get it right, because she said it's really simple, you've just got to get it right. Anyway, I got it wrong, and what she did in that moment, she grabbed me by the t-shirt, and she actually scratched my neck as well, and shook me hard and threw me down on the sofa. Now, it only lasted like a couple of minutes. No, not a couple of minutes, sorry. Less than a minute, a few seconds, probably, 20 or 30 seconds, I don't know. But obviously, as a child going through trauma, it can feel like an infinite amount of time. You can feel like it's never going to stop. And in that moment, I did not I didn't know, I didn't know when it was going to stop, and I didn't know if I was going to live or if I was going to die. And so in that moment, I realised, because I went numb. So it was so traumatic for me, because it was such a, a sort of basic thing, learning how to tell the time. And then I didn't really do anything kind of really naughty. I just got it wrong, the time wrong, and I didn't understand what she was doing. So it was, I numbed this pain, because she was like this, my mother. She could be really, like, for want of a better word, extreme, and then the next day she would just be really loving and kind, and you just feel really like at one with her. And there would be no explanation, so it'd be very confusing as a child and I just learned that as a normal behaviour. I just learned it's normal behaviour, and I learned coping mechanisms. Part of the coping mechanism was to numb it and to shut it off, because like the next day she would be okay. Now, what I've realised is, having done work on myself regarding my suicidal thoughts and everything, because like I said in the video 3 years ago, they can be quite extreme, they can be quite violent, they can go from one extreme of being very violent to kind of being quite passive, where I just want to delete myself. Now, what I've realised is, when she shook me like that, like I said, I was getting a slight bit of excitement. When I look back on it, I remember thinking like, oh, what's she going to do? And I became subconscious. So there's a couple of things that I'd like to explain that happened. So firstly, subconsciously, I became addicted to that thrill, the thrill of not knowing what's going to happen. When's it going to stop? Is she going to do it again? And because I became subconsciously addicted to it, what I've recognised, and this is what happens in psychology with your brain wants to understand things, and if it doesn't understand things because it's put into shock, because you emotionally have numbed it, you will continue to recreate a similar circumstance. It would be a totally different situation, but the feeling of that situation and circumstance will be the same or very similar. So you will recreate those situations so you can process that. So you will so there's two things that happened to me. I became addicted to it, so I wanted to feel that rush again. And then because I numbed it, and because of the confusion, I'm then recreating it, because I'm deeply trying to process that information. So what I have realised recently, through the layers of processing from that and doing my own inner work on myself constantly, is that I'm a naturally submissive person anyway. And in my relationship with Marcus, because he's naturally more dominant, we actually work really well together as a team. But there are occasions that we trigger each other. And so like I mentioned earlier, I realised that because I'm addicted to kind of this rush I get, I will subconsciously wind him up so to get some form of reaction. And but another part of this is that it works really well with our relationship, because both of us are looking at ourselves. So even though we can trigger each other, we resolve it, we both work it out and see where we take responsibility, and it works really well, because otherwise our relationship wouldn't function. And that's partly why I mentioned in another video, that's why I've ended a lot of relationships in my life, because of not being able to feel like I can fully resolve issues with people, which is what I've realised I do. It's not just with Marcus. I have this feeling where I subconsciously trigger them to get a kind of reaction. I've done it with a lot of other relationships, romantic relationships as well, and it's all part of this feeling of wanting to experience the rush of how they're going to react, alongside trying to open up my pain so that I can resolve it within myself. Because your brain and your emotions are desperately trying to process it. You see, the brain processes different things. The brain is, it's very clever, like the body. If you bang yourself or you cut your knee, if your body's functioning correctly, your blood will clot and it starts to heal naturally. You don't have to think about it. The body does it naturally. It's a natural occurrence to heal you. The brain's the same. So if you are in shock or trauma, you your brain will want to resolve it. It will open. It will. So the only way to resolve that is to open you up by putting you in situations that are going to create that feeling again, so that you can resolve it. Now, unless you have that deeper insight, what you do if you've had trauma is the trauma has been can affect you so much and it can be so confusing, you use coping mechanisms to numb the pain. So you numb it so that you can just get through life and get through to the next day, because that's what you've done. Now if you keep recreating it, so your brain will want to recreate the trauma so it can resolve it. If you keep numbing it or through distractions, so say for example you feel really sad that something's happened, and you often feel sad when this thing happens or something similar happens. So what do you do when you feel sad? Common thing people might do will be eat food or go on social media, watch some television, distract themselves, socialise, or do something to distract themselves from the pain, to numb it. That is not processing the pain. That will just make it even more, so that it will create it again, so that you look at it, because your brain is trying to show you, look at me, try and process me, so that we can move through this pain. So I know it's a bit of a long explanation, but it's quite detailed, so I thought I would spend a bit more time on it. But I wanted to give that update to explain how I've changed, and how I've changed with wanting to be a mother, and how I view pain differently as well, and to help people, if anyone is struggling, to help them view their pain differently. So it's some food for thought, as always. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about what I do, my website and email address will be in the description of this video. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and namaste.